All right, so welcome to another deep dive, and today we're going to get into something a little bit different.
Oh.
Yeah. We're tackling, well, I guess you could call it a real-life whodunit.
Okay.
A classic murder mystery.
Interesting.
Set at this, luxurious estate called Everwood.
All right, I'm intrigued.
So, picture this, right? We have Jonathan Wells. He's like this super wealthy businessman, found dead in his study. And get this, not just dead, but murdered, seemingly with his own letter opener.
Ooh, a letter opener. That's personal.
Right. And the thing is, the room locked from the inside.
So a classic locked room mystery.
Exactly. And that's why I had to bring in the expert to, help us unpack all of this.
Well, what always fascinates me about locked rooms is that you have to think really outside the box, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to think, oh, there's some trick, some secret passage or something.
Right.
But sometimes the answer is staring right at you. It all comes down to understanding people, their motivations, their deceptions, things they do when they think no one's watching.
Okay, so, let's just get right into it then.
Let's.
So our victim, Jonathan Wells, found in his study, stabbed with his own letter opener. The room is locked from the inside, no signs of forced entry.
So right off the bat, limited number of suspects.
Exactly. But before we even get into who those suspects are, let's talk about the scene, all right?
Okay.
So we've got a half-empty glass of whiskey on the desk.
Ooh, fancy.
A torn letter.
A letter.
Yeah, and it has, a threatening message on it, and then a muddy footprint, but near the balcony door.
Hold on, a footprint.
Yeah.
But if the room's locked from the inside, how did someone get in or out that way? Was it the killer, or are we being tricked? Is this like a red herring?
Yeah, it's almost like they wanted us to think the balcony was involved,
Exactly, trying to mislead us.
And there's the letter, right? It's torn, incomplete.
Incomplete.
Yeah, there's this thread on it, but it trails off. It just says, if you don't stop, I'll.
Oh, wow. See, that's almost worse than a direct threat.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's like leaving that open-ended. It just messes with your head.
I can see that.
Keeps you constantly on edge, just waiting for the other shoe to drop,
Oh, for sure. It's like leaving a loaded gun on the table and just walking away.
Exactly. You don't know when or if it's going to go off, but you're definitely not going to ignore it.
No, not at all.
So back to these suspects.
Oh, yeah, right. So we've got Margaret Wells. She's Jonathan's wife.
Okay.
And let's just say their marriage, not exactly picture perfect.
So maybe some resentment there.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Resentment can lead to a lot of things.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And, strained marriages, those are breeding grounds for all sorts of trouble.
Definitely motive there.
For sure.
Then we have Peter Wells, the younger brother.
Okay.
And he and Jonathan, they were feuding.
Feuding?
Yeah, a pretty nasty feud over the family business.
Right. Classic sibling rivalry, only with, high stakes.
Exactly. Add in a bunch of money, control of the company.
Oh, yeah. Recipe for disaster.
And here's the kicker, Peter. He's the one who wrote the threatening letter.
Oh, wow. So we've got the wife with potential motive and the brother who made a direct threat.
It seems that way, right? But
we're doing a deep dive here, right?
Right.
Can't just scratch the surface.
Yeah.
We need to understand, why was that letter torn? Why wasn't it finished? Was Peter just angry and then regretted it? Or was he trying to, really intimidate Jonathan?
Chills. Literal chills.
All right.
Okay, so we've got the wife, we've got the brother.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
More.
Sophia Blake.
Who's that?
She's Jonathan's assistant.
Assistant.
Yeah, and, there are rumors of an affair.
An affair?
Mm-hmm. And she claims she was in the library when it all happened.
Is that true, though?
Right.
Affairs always complicate things.
Oh, yeah.
So much passion, jealousy, secrets. People would do anything to keep hidden. And think about it. As his assistant, Sophia would have known everything about Jonathan.
True. His routines, his schedule, all of that.
Exactly. His weaknesses, too.
Okay, so we've got the wife, the brother, the assistant.
This is a lot.
And to make things even more interesting,
Here's more.
we have Charles Gray,
OC.
the business partner.
Oh, okay.
And let's just say he wasn't too happy with Jonathan.
Why not?
Lost a lot of money in a deal with him recently.
Yeah, money can make people do crazy things.
Exactly.
Especially when you're desperate to get it back.
Right.
And as his partner, Charles would have known all about Jonathan's finances, security, all of that.
So there you have it.
Wow.
4 suspects, each with their own secrets, their own potential motives.
Oh, okay. Let me get this straight. We've got the wife, the brother, the assistant, and the business partner.
You got it.
So who silenced Jonathan Wells?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
But remember, this is a locked room mystery.
Right.
So the killer, they were either incredibly clever or incredibly lucky.
Or both.
Maybe both.
Could be.
Before we reveal who did it and how Detective Hart, cracked the case, let's just pause here for a second.
Okay.
Think about all those clues we just talked about. The muddy footprint, that torn letter, the half-empty glass of whiskey. What stands out to you? What seems important?
I'm going to have to think about this one.
I know, right?
This is good.
It's a real head-scratcher.
It is. It's funny, isn't it? How, the tiniest detail can just blow a case wide open.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And in this case, it's Sophia, the assistant.
Okay.
She's the one who, unintentionally gives us that key piece of information.
Wait, so she wasn't just, answering phones and scheduling meetings?
Nope. Sophia's got more to her than meets the eye, let me tell you.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So, you remember how she said she was in the library when the murder happened?
Yeah.
Well, during her second interview with Detective Hart, she lets something slip. Seems totally random at the time.
Like what?
She mentions that while she's in the library, she glances out the window and sees someone sneaking onto the balcony.
Hold on. The balcony.
Uh-huh.
The one with the muddy footprint. You're not going to tell me.
Yeah, that's right. The figure Sophia saw. None other than Charles Gray.
The business partner.
The one and only.
Wow. So much for his alibi about getting some fresh air.
Right.
I mean, this changes everything.
Yeah, those muddy shoes, his money problems.
It all adds up now.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, why was Charles sneaking onto the balcony?
Exactly. And why lie about it?
Unless he had something to hide.
Right.
Okay, let's back up for a second.
Right.
We know Charles was in deep financially.
Yeah, lost a bunch of money with Jonathan, yeah.
And he was desperate to get it back, so maybe he sneaks onto the balcony.
To avoid being seen, maybe?
Right, but what happens next?
Yeah, did he want to confront Jonathan?
Did things just get out of hand?
Well, what about the letter opener?
The letter opener.
In Jonathan's hand.
Right, seemed like self-defense initially, but there were no signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no defensive wounds.
So it wasn't self-defense?
Well, it might have been staged to look that way.
Staged? Wait, you mean Charles put the letter opener in Jonathan's hand after he killed him?
It's a possibility.
That's cold.
It is, but it happens. It's a way to mislead the investigators, control the narrative, even if it means tampering with evidence.
And it almost worked.
Almost.
But what about Peter and that threatening letter?
Peter.
He seems like the obvious choice for a while.
Oh, no, right.
So is it all a coincidence?
Well, Peter's letter was a brilliant red herring. I'll give him that.
A red herring.
Mm-hmm. It played on our assumptions,
Okay.
right? We saw the bad blood between them, the threat, and we just connected the dots.
I did.
But remember, Peter left the estate hours before the murder.
Oh, that's right.
No opportunity to commit the crime.
So just a lucky break for Charles then.
Maybe, maybe not. It's possible Charles knew about the letter. Oh, yeah. Maybe he even used it to his advantage, knowing it'd point the finger at Peter, take the heat off of him.
Wow, he was playing everyone.
Like a chess master.
And he would have gotten away with it too.
He almost did.
If it hadn't been for Sophia and that, totally random thing she saw out the window.
Amazing, isn't it? One little detail unraveling the whole scheme.
It's incredible. It really makes you think, what are we missing? What are we not seeing?
Right. All those little things we just pass over without a second thought.
So it was Sophia, the quiet assistant, who, accidentally helped bring a killer to justice.
A little hero.
Reminds us that even the quiet ones can have a huge impact.
Absolutely. It's also about listening, really listening.
Yeah.
Sophia, she mentions this thing about the balcony. It seems like nothing. But Detective Hart, she's sharp. She picks up on it.
Good detective work.
The best, sometimes the most important clues, they come from the people you least expect.
We always talk about the big clues, the obvious stuff. But in this case, it was this little tiny detail.
Yep. Changed everything.
It's wild. This whole case, we started with a locked room, a bunch of suspects and motives all over the place.
And now, thanks to Sophia and Detective Hart, we've got our answer.
We do, but there's still more to unpack here, right?
Huh?
What about the killer's mindset? What makes someone like Charles do something like this?
That's the real puzzle, isn't it? Why would a successful businessman turn to murder?
Yeah, what pushed him to that point?
And what does it tell us about, the dark side of human nature?
Are we all capable of this? Given the right or, I guess, wrong circumstances?
I think that's a question we're going to explore in our next deep dive.
Okay, can't wait. I mean, it's just crazy to think that someone like Charles, so successful, could just snap like that.
Well, that's the thing about assumptions, isn't it? We like to put people in these neat little boxes.
Yeah.
Good or bad, trustworthy or not, but people are way more complicated than that.
Oh, absolutely.
We all have our limits, those moments where we might just, break.
So what was it for Charles then? Was it all about the money?
Well, losing all that money, that was definitely a huge part of it, but I think there's more to it.
Like what?
Remember, Charles and Jonathan, they weren't just business partners.
Right, they were friends.
Close friends, they confided in each other, so there's this element of betrayal there.
Yeah, like Jonathan used that friendship to, I don't know, take advantage of him or something.
Could be. I mean, feeling betrayed by someone you trust like that.
That's gotta hurt.
It does. It's like the ultimate violation,
Yeah, you think you know someone, you depend on them, and then they just stab you in the back.
And in this case, literally.
Right.
So for Charles, that betrayal, on top of losing everything, maybe that pushed him over the edge?
Yeah, like he had nothing left to lose.
Exactly. And murder, maybe that felt like the only way to, I don't know, take back control.
6 things to right the wrongs, yeah.
It's scary to think that, someone could be that desperate.
Desperation is a powerful force.
It is. We think of murderers as these, cold-blooded monsters. Right. But sometimes it's just, an ordinary person who makes a terrible choice.
And that's what makes this whole thing so unsettling, right?
It is.
It's like looking into a mirror, seeing that dark side of human nature, realizing that maybe, just maybe, we're all capable of something like this.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Okay, so we solve the mystery. We know who did it.
We do.
But what does it all mean? What can we, take away from the silent affair?
That's a good question. I think one of the biggest takeaways here is just how powerful observation can be.
Really?
Think about Sophia, right? That quick glance out the window, that was it.
That's what broke the case open.
It did. Reminds us to pay attention, to notice the little things.
Because those little things can be important.
Absolutely. It's like they say, the devil's in the details.
So true.
And, this case also shows how important critical thinking is.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how we all thought Peter was the guy?
Yeah.
If we hadn't questioned that, if we hadn't looked deeper, we never would have found out about Charles.
Never jump to conclusions.
Right. Got to keep an open mind, consider all the angles, even the crazy ones.
I like that.
And one more thing. This whole case, it reminds us that everyone has a story.
Oh, yeah.
Charles, the successful businessman, he was driven to murder by, desperation, betrayal, this feeling that the world was against him.
Yeah.
We judge so easily, label people as good or bad, but we don't know their struggles, their reasons.
It's like that saying, don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
So next time I'm about to judge someone, I'll remember Charles Gray.
Good idea.
Remember that everyone has a story.
And sometimes those stories, they're darker and sadder than we could ever imagine.
Well, on that note,
yeah,
this has been one wild ride.
It has.
The silent affair.
Full of twists and turns, false leads, and finally, the truth.
We did it.
We did.
So until next time, keep your eyes peeled, your minds sharp, and remember, the truth, it's out there just waiting to be found.
It always is.